Daughter married me in the dark, and then turned around and exposed it at the reception. Please like and subscribe. The stink of sour coffee and the hum of the time-old fridge. The soundtrack to my life 70 years. The same bed, the same house, the same spot on Crim Lane, Dayton, Ohio. 70 years on Amazon. Pushing boxes, answering phones. A gear and a machine that never paid attention to every single worker. This is Timothy, and for 70 years Pamela R. Doyle was his everything. Pamela. My Pamela. And the scrape-kneed happy girl, who could laugh every dark shadow away with her tender sound. The kid who rode rough seas to get to adulthood with a grit that made me proud whenever I ever looked over at her. My Martha, taken away from me too soon, the beautiful young woman who was, as I had always dreamed, growing into a lovely and graceful person like her mom. Pamela's hollow had only partially filled the gaping void that Martha had left behind in my life. I poured all my love, my hopes, into her. I hoped she would be saved from the hush of her own unfulfilled life, its own kind of misery I often chew on. Yet lately some other version of silence had begun creeping in. Not a lost neutral silence, but a distant silence. Now Pamela, the queen of transparency, appeared in the back of a car as if it were an 80s drug deal. She began calling and coming around less and less. Whenever I asked about life, she shooed me away, like really, the vague promises, the smirk only for her belly. I excused that a lot. A lot of excuse based on scrambling the mini barely 30 role, on the pressure of a career, on the more natural urge to want to define yourself. I convinced myself that it was fine, even good for me. But a tale brought forth by a father instinct through many years of watching his child grow. It was a thick ecru stock paper with a crisp flap sealed at the back, the exterior inked in swirling calligraphy, my name inscribed in all capitals, Timothy Doyle. Beneath it, a typographical proclamation in celebratory font. You are invited to witness the union between Pamela R. Doyle and groom's first name. Underneath it, the date and time and a location. An event hall across town that I recognized as slightly pretentious. My tiny, God-honoring heart danced a jig. It was a wedding. My Pamela was getting married. It is something that I had zero experience on. Ideas of engagements had not been discussed, nor whispers of a wedding conspiracy. Just this. Something that held more thrill over gnawing discomfort. Why the secrecy? Was she pulling one on me? But perhaps that was an elopement. You just got the invitation afterward? The joyous apparition revealed itself. Her name-bright face, her shining coal eyes, her telling me on a whim. This is why and when I did it. For days I droned on about what my outfit needed to be, ultimately choosing my best suit, the one Martha had chosen for me long before. I even received a small, but tasteful gift of a silver photo frame, which I imagined would soon be filled with the first official photo of the party head couple. Found the center space. Sunday blue-gray, drizzling, matching the tight ball of anxiety in my stomach. Party day. I got in my car and drove to the suitable event hall with city light going by my windscreen smeared in rain. As I stepped out of my car, I was greeted with a frenzied buzz of activity. I could hear guests arriving, dressed to the nines with giggles and chatter outside in the starlit nights, but inside the same subdued silence that gray December sky carried. As I entered the ballroom, a grand room adorned with fairy lights and suspended flower sculptures, I was given a polite if remote smile by the maitre d', as they sent me toward the guest book. When I wrote my name, my hand was shaky, moving. Through the crowd, I searched for someone I recognized, the initial confusion settling in. Others I recognized from Pamela's friends or coworkers. A scattering of never to be seen agains in that family tree spun outside La Crosse. I searched for people from her youth, for the best friends I had heard of, and most maddeningly for the groom I was meant to be toasting. Then I saw her, Pamela, wearing green sequins, in the distance at other end of room. She was laughing, talking to some random strangers. It was something I had always loved to hear, but now, it felt foreign. She was beautiful, Well, yes, but the way she walked with such confidence, her head held high, suggested poise had only just kind of been acquired, like a key. As I approached, a tall, elegant man with an evil glint in his eye appeared next to her. A hand on her arm. Cold washed down my spine. And this was not what I pictured for my daughter who would be that boy. That man spared no expense, but he was a stranger, and his demeanor was icy. When the last of them ran off, the music swelled, and suddenly the microphone came alive. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special announcement. Pamela got up on a pedestal with the dude and took the mic. She glanced about, and our eyes met for the briefest moment. Something flashed there. Surprise? Regret? It all depended on how quickly you wrote it down. Before I knew it, gone. Okay, you know how before school starts, they have someone giving you the rundown of everything? Well, that's exactly what she did. Thank you guys for being here as well. Know who are students. Her voice came through the sound system, loud, but just above normal. You know what we're here for. We've got ourselves a new book to pop open. A book that, it's been some chapters in the brewing, honestly. And she paused then, a wry little smile flitting across her face. A lot of you have asked about, flashed an oily, practiced smile. This is Alexander Thorne. Alexander Thorne. The name meant nothing to me, Pamela said before adding quietly. And a touch of drama now that we are engaged. We just got married last month, the two of us. Gasps went up from the crowd. Even I gulped at this one. Married? Last month? Without telling me? Without any indication? We just wanted to have a party for close family and friends, she added, completely oblivious to the fact that I was undergoing a seismic shift in my world. Oh, and a little icing on the cake and all that. You see, we thought we would bust it out right here, right now at this little soiree we are hosting. How terribly generous of us. To celebrate the start of our new journey together. Alexander was the next man to step up. Pamela and I are so excited to begin our life together, he said, his voice dripping silk. Parsons said, we have such a wonderful home and rest long may we continue to enjoy it. The room erupted in applause. Confetti rained down from above. Men and women craned forward, slapping Pamela and Alexander on the back, smiling. Yet there I stood, frozen, a gargoyle on the brink of frenetic ecstasy. My Pamela. My daughter. Married. As her father, I should of course never be the one to hear about this at a party. A party celebrating her new husband. A man I had not yet met and whose hand had just been hugging her right arm. My mind reeled. The secrecy, the evasion, the unexplained absence. It all clicked and formed a horrific picture far worse than any possible explanation I could construct in my logical brain. It didn't come as a shock, this wedding announcement did. And Pamela seemed to be in perfect shape as she strolled, accepting pecks and well wishes. A stranger wearing a dress so unlike her. A smile that now never reached her eyes. Where was that girl who fell asleep in my lap? The teen who told me secrets and the young woman I thought I knew. A low tide of betrayal washed over my body, hot and clammy as the day. Not just the wedding, the silence, the deceit. All that time, wasted affection, wasted life force, wasted sleepless nights worrying about her. Those dreams I'd built her life around, vanished in an instant at the hands of a stranger. I clicked back, the applause fading now behind me like the retreating tide. I didn't speak to anyone. I abandoned my gift that I received from the table. I just needed to escape. Heavier rain fell, playing a requiem tattoo on the roof as I drove back towards her. The house was colder, emptier than it was ever before. I sat in my old armchair and listened. The only other noise in the house was maddening. I looked over at the picture in the frame of me and Martha, at our wedding. Her eyes behind the warm smile said love and hope. We had built our lives on truth and in presence. Well, neither of us would have kept from each other such life-changing news. I painstakingly replayed Pamela saying to me, so we decided to do an intimate ceremony, private. For whom? Not for her father. That Alexander Thorne. Who the hell was he? How did he get into her world? Obnoxiously mix a 6300 in it. I am. Time. 0000. 728 the display? The questions gnawed at me. Had I been so consumed by my life, by the triviality of my position at Amazon, by my unfortunately still tender heart for Martha, that I had somehow missed it all? Was I so self-satisfied in my pronouncements that our father-daughter bond was above mere circumstances, that I had inadvertently put an emotional wall between ourselves? Pamela had not only gotten married without my knowledge, but also the awful truth. That was the tragedy. The biggest, most horrifying tragedy. To lose touch, to not have I ever contacted them again, to have severed a relationship I had cherished above all other. But stranger still was that the daughter whom I felt I knew so well was a stranger who was so capable of deception. For the next weeks I got more shrugs of silent despair. Pamela didn't call. I didn't call her. The silence that came between the three of us had become a concrete object, thick vapor with suffocating fog. I would scan the mantelpiece, the one from her high school graduation, her face glowing, so young, so optimistic. That girl I would link to the woman who had stood on that stage announcing her marriage, as if it was an afterthought. One dreary afternoon I was going through a drawer and noticed Martha's old gardening gloves. Martha had loved her garden, her otherworldly haven, her peace. Timothy, the only thing tougher than the worst weeds comes out in time, and one ray of sunshine at a time, floating back in my head. Sunlight. I hadn't seen sunshine in a while. I decided to visit her grave. The scent of moisture-chilled earth from the local graveyard hung in the air. I sat beside Martha's headstone and traced her name. Here lies Martha Doyle. A loving, merciful, and fierce life. The dirty autumn leaves echoed in my throat. Oh, Martha, you'd be so disappointed. So disappointed. The stone made no sound when I told the story of my heartbreaking. And I wrote about Pamela getting married, the surprise, the betrayal, the howl that is leaving you out, one of those gutting ones. I told him of my fear that I may have failed her, lost her to the dark side of herself. It was here at Martha's gravesite I spotted a frail little daisy. It looked lost, neglected. 2 sweet pea stems clearing some dried leaves. Not big, just a fragment of love, a spark of being. Into that soil Martha had been general of the planet. Pamela had hurt me deeply, but that her loss, and the life in view of my shortcomings and failures that I deserved to live were not part of what I needed to have as the remainder of my life. Martha was forward-looking, about rejoicing even in the hurting. But how do we rise above this? But how to close the distance that had so opened up between myself and my daughter? The fancy do, the congratulatory bling, all felt like mockery now. I had been exiled from this lifestyle, this apparently secret world that thrived on whispers and silence. It felt like the key to re-entering it. So it was, I recognized, in animal time. The tragedy was not some identifiable date, but a felt obliteration of all decency. It was an autofight flashing the guilty of how the foundation of our relationship, which I presumed to be solid as a rock for all eternity, was psychopedics. And at last it had broken. It had broken all of it, and I was standing alone on the sandy shoal with the tide, watching my heart go out with the tide. The street of Crim Lane fell silent once more. The lingering odor of burnt coffee and the vibrating sound of the fridge remained in my messy head. But beneath all those chords of the familiar now rested a different silence, a more profound one. The silence of a shattered heart. The silence that followed unaskable words. A chasm so wide and so fateful between father and daughter, that not even the loudest noise breached it. I was Timothy Doyle, 30, an Amazon employee, and my daughter, Pamela R. Doyle, had married some random dude, and she announced it at my wedding, so I had just hear it fill the spaces of a life belonging to a stranger. And weeks turned into months, and I knew, without a trace of uncertainty in my gut, that silence was basically going to be what was left of me. Thanks for watching Revenge YouTube channel.